So, Alan, tell us a bit about Midas. What do you do, and how did the company come about?
Well, I started the company back in 1989 as a local foundry pattern making company. That's where the name comes from. And we built quite rapidly into a substantial pattern making firm. We realized that we needed to diversify in order to grow the business. So we actually started to produce our own unique tooling solution that enabled us to produce high precision quality polyurethane moldings. And we essentially transformed from a foundry pattern making business into a polyurethane molding business in the early 90s. And we've since grown into the market leader of large, complex precision polyurethane moldings. They're typically used as instrument enclosures and housings for medical devices and scientific kit. A great market to trade in, and obviously something that really uses those skills to the utmost.
So, where would someone see this if they went to a hospital or they went somewhere? What sort of things would your molds be making?
Well, the moldings that we make go onto high value scientific equipment. So some are used in hospitals, and for sure, things like PPAP machines, ventilators, that kind of equipment is obviously big business for us at the moment. But the most common area you'd see our moldings are in university research labs, in drug company research environments, basically anywhere where there's high end analysis of chemistry for medical applications. That's typically where you'll find our product.
It's a very niche kind of business, right? It's an interesting field, and it's obviously a field based around plastics. Now, when you started in 1989, I'm pretty certain I didn't give a damn about plastics. I don't think anyone did give a damn about plastics. So plastics were seen as kind of, yeah, they're there and we use them. Over the last sort of 32, 33 years, the attitudes have changed. When did you start to see, hang on, there is an environmental cost of my raw materials and the products I kind of make and use?
Well, it's interesting because when I started out, our raw material was predominantly hardwood. All of our foundry tooling was made from typically Brazilian mahogany, would you believe? So obviously from a woodworking background, moving into a plastics environment, the use of polyurethane in the old days, well, we just didn't give it a second thought. We've always been a responsible business. We've always
Sure.
been very careful, but the raw material, we just didn't even compute that we were doing anything that was remotely sensitive.
Of
And
course.
I guess for me, the real turning point as the business has grown was literally just a couple of years ago. And the epiphany for me was all thanks to Greta Thunberg and David Attenborough, because I watched Climate Change the Facts. And I swear something, my world changed in 24 hours. I was utterly devastated that I'd been so complacent and complicit in the process of climate change. And I really realized that I'm an intrinsic part of this problem. You know, my personal lifestyle, my professional lifestyle, neither was something that made me proud in that moment. And I just decided we need to do something. I need to do something. The business needs to do something. And frankly, when I put my mind to something, I do it, and I do it good, and I do it quick. And that's essentially what happened back in April 2019.
God, so recently, that's amazing. We'll talk about what you've done, but when you talk about your epiphany moment, and often they say for business people, and in this, this platform is all about business. It is that you decide to make a business, you think of it, and then you do it, and something happens, you make an action. And I know I've worked like that. What did you look in the mirror and see? Did you start, did you think, why do I drive that car? What have I been doing? Why do I go on those holidays? What were those thoughts on the personal before we go to the business?
Quite frankly, I was embarrassed. I really did take a long, hard look in the mirror. It was as simple as that. You know, success in the UK in 2021 is typically measured in materialism. I was living in a nice house. I got some nice cars in the garage. I was flying. I'd always been a meat eater. These things really embarrassed me. And I just thought, well, actually, none of this is necessary. I want to set an example. I want to feel good about myself. And above all, I want my kids to remember me as somebody that, yeah, maybe I was responsible up to a point. But once I realized the error of my ways almost, I did something about it, and I didn't just tickle the problem. I attacked the problem and solved it quickly. So literally vegan overnight, sold all the diesel cars, sold the petrol cars, got into an electric car. Obviously energy was all changed within days. Haven't flown
Wow.
since. Yeah, I've literally gone down the menu, ticked every box and done it with passion.
What did your kids say? I don't know how young they are, but they must have thought, what the hell's happened to my dad here?
Exactly, they did, because they're both in their 20s. And basically, they couldn't believe the change was happening so quickly. And they obviously know that when I do something, I make it stick. So I don't think there was any real doubt that it wasn't going to last. But I think they were shocked at the pace of change. And as I say, as vehicles started to disappear and, I started to really realize the importance of my platform, I think they thought, wow, this is cool. And obviously they're young, they're young thinking, and they like green and they like environmentally friendly. So it actually motivated them to do more and talk more. And in both of their businesses, they're now packing green and thinking green and courting green customers. And it snowballs. And that's just within the family. When you look further afield, obviously, the more you talk about this thing, the more change you can encourage.
Now, Alan, we don't know each other that well, but we kind of know each other. And I'm going to ask you this question. But were you just going through a midlife crisis, mate? Normally it was like get a motorbike, do all that stuff. Did you have a midlife crisis of going, I'm going to go green, I'm going to become a vegan? It sounds like that. Didn't the kids go, what on earth has happened to my dad?
This is the real irony. And, I love the fact you've asked this question. I've been this person all my life. I just didn't realise. I've grown up in a menagerie. I've always loved the great outdoors. You talk about midlife crisis and motorbikes. I've ridden motorbikes since I was 15, so they've never been far away. I've always had bikes in the garage. So I can't blame it on that. Whether it's snowboarding, whether it's hiking, whether it's just the great outdoors, I've always loved it. I have a real passion for birds and for nature and for trees. And it's almost as if all this has always been there, and I just haven't put the two together, the conflict between the two. So that TV program, a 1-hour program, that was just the catalyst. And I just thought, what the hell am I doing with my life? I'm this person. I'm paying scant regard.
You're covered in something else. That's amazing. Yeah.
So it was so easy. The whole vegan thing, easiest thing I've ever done, because I've always eaten vegetarian. It's been a part meat-based diet. It's just like, this is almost the perfect excuse to ditch the meat. I've always wanted to, so it's part of the process. It was
well, we did a story this week about lab-grown meat, so you might be able to eat it again with that guilt-free.
I don't need to eat something that looks like meat. I call myself veganish because I have to say, free-range eggs, I can't give them up. But
fair play.
If it lived, I ain't eating it. It's as simple as that.
Let's talk about the business side of things. That's great, and I get that. You have a moment and you change your personal life. To do it for a business, I don't know if you have business partners, but you've certainly got employees. They're going to think, if we said to the staff, right, we're going to completely change our business. We're going to cut back what we're doing, maybe get rid of parking spaces. You're going to have to do all of this. People go nuts, okay? Companies, there's a thing about kind of change. Can it happen brutally quick, or can it take time, and do you have to consult? What did your staff say when you said, right, guys, this is where I want to take the company, this direction?
Again, that was easy because the change at Midas, the instigation of the Midas Green Initiative, that began simultaneously with what I was doing at home. And so the first thing I did was just talk to the key players in the business that I knew had got green credentials, and just said, look, this is really what I want to do. Are you going to back me? Can we work together on this? And they're like, fantastic, what we've been waiting for. So once I got those players together, then we didn't just look at the carbon footprint, we looked at our environmental credentials simultaneously. So we worked on both because, quite honestly, in a business, it's no different to a personal lifestyle. So the number one thing you do is look at your energy. So literally within 2 weeks, we changed our energy provider to a 100% green provider. We got on with a biogas, natural gas blend supplier as well. That was pretty good. But within 3 months, we were sourcing 100% biogas, which was one of the real big achievements that we got in place really quickly. So once these things were happening, the guys in the team were really quite motivated. We went through the factories and ripped out all the lights, put LEDs in, all the quick wins, sensors, you name it, all the easy stuff we did. Within 3 or 4 months, We completely negated all single-use plastics from the business. And the real big one, the real obvious one, was we used to pack our mouldings. We ship out 30,000 mouldings a year. They're all wrapped in foam and bubble wrap and vinyl tape and you name it. So all we did, we went to the market, we bought a three-phase cardboard shredder, two big old industrial paper shredders, started manufacturing all of our own packaging material, bought in biodegradable starch bags and ditched the bubble, ditched the foam. We stopped buying 40 large rolls of bubble wrap a month overnight. And when people see that kind of thing going on, they're energized, they're motivated. And off the back of those easy wins, we then started to look at obviously our big energy users, things like our compressor system. We literally ditched our old compressor system, put in a new £30,000 system that we'll achieve payback on in 18 months' time, simply because we went from 10-year-old technology to cutting-edge, highly efficient technology. These things people love. And that really rolled all the way through to the point where we stuck 187,000 kilowatt hour solar farm on our roofs and started to pile back into the grid, you know? So from really tiny, easy things like using China cups rather than paper cups, right the way through to a massive solar farm, you keep people on side, you engage people, they become enthused and keen, and the ideas were coming in from all over the place. And that's why in just 14 months, we went from being a typical British manufacturing business to a processed carbon neutral business, 14 months. And it was fun. And the money that we spent, well, I thought I was investing wisely and for the benefit of the planet. What I never considered was how much more money it's going to put on the bottom line. You know, what you do
And
to save money makes
that's the
profit.
point.
Exactly.
That's the point I was going to say to you, which is, you know, everything you've said, you know, I buy into it. But the question is so hard for people in companies, and you are the boss, and it is easier for the boss. But for people who always get against that ceiling of the FD or maybe the CEO says, hang on, this is going to cost me. How do you answer business people who say, that sounds great, Alan, but it's a lot of money to put out? The win, was it financially, did it work for you to invest to make the return? Has it worked?
Quite frankly, Summit, this is what drives me mad. People will invest if they think they're going to make money. People will invest if they think they're going to save money. As soon as you add in it's environmentally friendly and it's green and it's the right principle thing to do, they get all twitchy. Well, I just say, well, forget the fact that you're saving the planet then. Just buy the efficient compressor. Just put the solar panels on the roof. Just buy the shredder. Just buy a compactor, because all these things are going to make you money. Everything I've just talked through is self-financing. For instance, our solar panels, we funded those through an HP structure. I make profit from day one. I'll never spend a penny on solar panels. Literally, by the time I get to the end of my HP agreement, I can't wait to see the money flow to the bottom line, because right now, I obviously make more money, save more money than I do by spending on the investment. Why wouldn't every business in the country do that? It's so logical.
Would you say that when you talk to other business colleagues and they start to see what you've done, do you think there's a change out there? Maybe sort of coronavirus has put that into focus as well, because we had that moment, particularly last year, when everything went wild and we could see, you know, we could hear birds, we could see the skies clearer, rivers clearer. Do you think some of your business colleagues now think, actually, if he's done it, I can do it? There's a change in the air?
100%. Let me tell you this. I've been invited to write an environmental column in the Foundry Trade Journal, a global magazine, a highly respected organ for the world foundry business. That wouldn't have happened without the things that we've done here. That enables me to bang the green drum, use my platform, encourage change, right the way through to my phone rings and it'll be my neighbour from over the road. Oh, I like your solar panels. Can you tell me a bit about that? I had a guy phone me last week and he said, I'm looking at my electricity bill and it's a bit high. So I thought I might think about investing in solar panels to get my cost down. What do you think, Alan? And it's just a no-brainer, isn't it?
With you being, and don't take this the wrong way, but you're not a multinational huge company, right? You're not backed by billions. You're a person who owns their business and you've built a successful business. This has always been the thing that we struggle with. Everyone thinks that going out down the net zero path is for big businesses, for big companies. What would you say to the SME and mid-market sector? Can they do it?
Absolutely, they can. It starts at the very thin end of the wedge, and I'll give you an example. Both of my daughters are artisans. One paints, one manufactures jewellery and sculptures. They both use 100% recyclable packaging. They both show me feedback from their customer base that thanks them for being environmentally friendly. Right the way through to a business like us, which is obviously encouraging change across the board, and all the way on up to your PLCs, obviously your multinational companies. Quite frankly, we have to do this for the good of the planet. That's all there is to it. But it's a fool that runs a business, whether it's a one-man artisan business or an 80-person PU molding company or many thousands of employees in a PLC. We have to set the example. We have to do the right thing. But it's a fool that doesn't realise the opportunity that comes from running their business in an ethical and sustainable fashion. It wins business. It brings customers on. People want to partner with companies that do the right thing and play with a straight bat. It's so obvious. There is no excuse not to do it. Whether that's from a green perspective or a bottom line perspective, there's nothing to lose. There really isn't. It beggars belief that it's not obvious to everybody.
Alan, before we end, I know that you've got many achievements. You've got a sort of the Carbon Trust has ratified you, but I'm not really interested in all of that. I'm really interested in your passion is amazing. What would be your one bit of advice to the business people, men and women, some who obviously have struggled very difficult times over the last year, but we did a survey which said still 78% of people like you and I believe that the future should be better and we could do something. What would you say to them? One thing they could do?
I think it's very easy. It's a case of doing the right thing or face a future where potentially you can't even have the luxury of trading. If we don't play the game properly now, then not only are we going to lose customers and see our business decline, but obviously the escalation of global warming and climate change is only going to increase. So I think it's very important that we all get up in the morning and make sure that in every day that we go to work, that we do the very best we can to not only reduce our carbon footprint, but above all, to encourage other people to do the same. Because we hear it all the time. Well, if I do this and I do that, what about China? What about America? Never mind that. Change starts at home and it starts with you. So if you do the very best you can, and you may be exemplary, you may have a fantastic example, but you will encourage other people to do the same. And the more people do something, the more that we'll see companies and people doing extraordinary things. And together, the momentum that we build will bring around the change that we need. And ultimately, when all's said and done, we need to be sure that we all did our best. And for everybody watching this, just think, are you doing the best you can do? Are you doing everything you can to act now and prevent climate change getting worse? Because if you're not, you really do need to change your priorities and think about what matters for you, your children, your grandchildren, and those generations to come. Because we're the ones with the responsibility. We have the key and we really can make a difference. We just need to act now.